Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Pan Future Society podcast. Today is Saturday, May 6th, 2017. We are on episode number 48. It's a lovely day here in the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of sun, not too hot, not too cold, just right. And these are the kinds of ramblings you get when I try to get up early to record the show. Brain is not fully functional. At any rate, let's get on with the news of the moment. Speaking of the brain, hey, how's that for a segue? Headline from Scientific American: Scientists surprised to find no two neurons are genetically alike. The genetic makeup of any given brain cell differs from all others. That realization may provide clues to a range of psychiatric diseases. So, scientists have found out that the DNA in each neuron in the brain are not identical. We probably all grew up hearing that in every single cell in your body, there's DNA, and all that DNA is the same. You could take a cell from here or there and grow a new human from it because it's got the whole blueprint right there. Well, I guess you could do that, but there's a possibility that that human you clone there would not be you. The study has shown that there is mutation, spontaneous mutation in somatic, that is, cells that are not passed along through normal reproduction, mutation in somatic cells, resulting in every individual cell containing different DNA and every individual living thing containing multiple different genomes. Saying of this idea, biochemist James Eberwein of the University of Pennsylvania, the idea is something that 10 years ago would have been science fiction. We were taught that every cell has the same DNA, but that's not true. So this is called somatic mosaicism, and this might be very important to the way the brain functions because neural genes, as far as we can tell, are very active. And in addition to just understanding why this happens and what it actually means, this may also open up new ways of understanding and treating neurological disorders such as autism or Parkinson's or things like that. So interesting there. At least in particular in your brain cells, they do not all share the exact same DNA genome. Those voices in my head, they might not actually be me. And now,
it came from outer space.
In space news this week, the search for life elsewhere in the universe is not only continuing, but taking some new tactics into account. A recent conference at Stanford University called the Breakthrough Discuss Conference, held April 20th and 21st, had dozens of scientists in attendance, and they discussed and contemplated options for exploring planets in other solar systems. This includes using a new generation of ultra-powerful telescopes, as well as considering brand new technology to visit other star systems within the next generation. I'm guessing that means we would launch it within the next generation, not that it would get there. They've also discussed where to focus their searches, and in our local neighborhood here within 30 light years of our solar system, scientists have already identified several Earth-like planets which would be worthy of further study. And they are also sort of narrowing down what kinds of stars they might want to look at. We are finding planets around dwarf stars called M-dwarfs. They're very small, cool stars, and they burn for a very, very long time. And what's interesting about these is they are also about the most common kind of star in the universe. There are within our neighborhood, our stellar neighborhood, there are 20 yellow dwarf stars like our own sun, but there are 250 M dwarfs. Now, these M dwarfs, you cannot see them with the naked eye. So if you go out and look at the sky at night, you're not seeing the light from these stars. However, among the M dwarf stars that have been studied and looked at for planets, they found planets around almost every single one of them. And Berkeley researcher Courtney Dressing said that for a typical M dwarf, there tends to be 2.5 planets. 1 in 4 of the stars has a planet the same size and temperature as Earth in the habitable zone. So these M dwarfs are high on the list of targets to take a look at with the coming technology. So they're also talked about the big data movement, as I've talked about a little bit with artificial intelligence and computers becoming faster and faster. The ability to process massive amounts of data and figure out what it all means, or have the computer do that for you. That's becoming more and more common in the search for life now that we are gaining this kind of technology. The search for life elsewhere in the universe has gone from mere speculation and hope for another wow signal or something like that to an actual legitimate data-driven science. So that is very fascinating to me as well. We're stepping out of science fiction and into science, and it's interesting to sort of be here at the time, at least if you're of a certain age, to remember when thinking about life elsewhere in the universe was really just speculation. You could say the average is probably, the universe is a big place, but we really don't know. We still don't know for sure, but having more and more data to support that idea and to support the research into it is such a great thing too. And that is your news of the moment. On the main segment this week, we dig more info out of the who and the what of current longevity research. There are individuals, foundations, and universities supporting research in many areas. These include genetics, drugs, and other chemical treatments, and technological avenues of exploration. There is also a lot of criticism directed at this research. Some people think it's too speculative, too much science fiction, while others think it's a waste and we are supposed to get old and die. And it is true that in many cases the work here is more hypothetical than practical, but I will get more into that next week. I also don't want to give short shrift to the many scientists, doctors, and other researchers working in this field. I just picked a few well-known people today who not only have done research themselves, but also happen to have a lot of money to back projects. I also want to note quickly that none of the people or groups I'm covering today are in the specific realm of researching the merger of humans and machines, perhaps one day to upload ourselves to the net or transfer to a robot body. Those are topics for another day as well. And before I go further, let's see if we can figure out what aging is. In answering that question, we can shape the approach one might take to fight aging. Aging itself is not fully understood, but as far as we can tell, most living things, but not all, age and die. Some that reproduce by cloning, like aspen trees, and don't suffer ill effects with that process. The hydra, relative to jellyfish, has a regenerative process essentially rendering it immortal. Other animals, like the tardigrade, seem to be nearly indestructible and can live in a sort of stasis for a very long time. But with us humans and most other life, over time errors appear as our cells divide and replace themselves. Some have proposed that there is programmed aging in living things, perhaps to avoid overuse of resources. There are also many genetic factors that appear to be in play, including DNA methylaction, telomeres, hormones, specific genes like the FOXO3A, and proteins like mTOR. I don't feel like I have the skill to get into all the details about that, but I will link to the expansive Wikipedia page on the topic if you want more details. It's enough here to say that there are many complex genetic and other biologic factors in both getting old and in whether or not we remain in good health as we age. Other factors include external factors that damage our DNA, like smoking, and some believe that there is an evolutionary element, that natural selection for early survival and reproduction may lead to a loss of longevity or more frequent inheritance of genetic diseases that occur after reaching reproductive age. In one of my first shows, I explored the life and work of Ray Kurzweil. He is definitely someone to read up on in the longevity field. I won't rehash here what I went over before or anything that's really, really recent. Just go back to episode 6 for more about Kurzweil. After Kurzweil, the name most people may be familiar with in this field is that of Aubrey de Grey. De Grey is a biomedical gerontologist and, among other things, co-founder of the Methuselah Foundation, which helps fund research with groups such as NASA and a number of universities. The Methuselah Foundation primarily supports research in regenerative medicine and bioengineered organs, such as those created with 3D tissue printing technology. De Grey is also the creator of SENS, Strategies for Engineered Negligible Senescence. That is his approach to aging research, and is co-founder of the nonprofit group SENS Research Foundation, spun out of Methuselah. Through this group, he and others support research into various avenues, primarily in treatments, first for damage caused by aging, and hopefully by extension, treatments for a longer life. Treatment types may be drugs, other biopharmaceutical treatments, stem cell therapy, and others aimed at particular problems like lengthening telomeres, improving the body's ability to copy DNA accurately, and finding ways to remove junk proteins from the body, such as the amyloid plaques that are a factor in Alzheimer's disease. De Grey defines aging as the set of accumulated side effects from metabolism that eventually kills us, and more specifically, as a collection of cumulative changes to the molecular and cellular structure of an adult organism which result in essential metabolic processes, but which also, once they progress far enough, increasingly disrupt metabolism, resulting in pathology and death. He adds, geriatrics is the attempt to stop damage from causing pathology. Traditional gerontology is the attempt to stop metabolism from causing damage, and the SENS engineering approach is to eliminate damage periodically, so keeping its abundance below the level that causes any pathology. So the SENS approach to biomedical gerontology is thus distinctive because of its emphasis on tissue rejuvenation rather than attempting to slow the aging process. Okay, so what I get from all of that is more or less that the SENS approach wouldn't need to fundamentally edit or alter DNA, but would treat metabolic functions much the way one might now treat a headache or high blood pressure. And that's interesting. Most people don't think of the metabolic process. This is a little off-the-cuff diversion I'm going on here, but having studied enough biology myself, the process that your cells go through to work is essentially burning. They ultimately, what gives you energy is the breaking apart of molecules of glucose, which creates heat. So you can imagine that, I mean, quite literally, the body is a machine, and it wears out eventually. The very functions which allow it to work eventually break it down, much like the engine in a car has all those moving parts. And no matter what you do, eventually those moving parts wear out. Another name well known in these circles is Craig Venter. Venter is a biotechnologist, biochemist, and geneticist. He was involved in the Human Genome Project and founded Celera Genomics, and has researched the possibilities of synthetic DNA. His career is long and colorful, and you can read more elsewhere. For this show, I want to focus on Human Longevity, Inc., a company he co-founded. This company is intended to do research for longer and healthier lifespans using primarily genetic information along with phenotypic and other data. They plan to sequence 40,000 genomes per year, focusing first on cancer and cancer patient genetics. By combining this large data pool with modern, fast, computer-based methods of analyzing big data, it might give patients a clearer understanding of their future risks or lead to more and more personalized treatments. Some disease treatment is already being personalized, but this data will make that all the more precise. Imagine receiving a cancer treatment based just on you as a genetic individual. A treatment that works better and maybe has fewer side effects. That may mean direct gene editing in the near future with CRISPR, or use of engineered viruses to deliver synthetic DNA. Of synthetic DNA, Venter says, synthetic biology can help address key challenges facing the planet and its population. Research in synthetic biology may lead to new things, such as program cells that self-assemble at the sites of disease to repair damage. End quote. The more we understand genes, the more it seems they control just about everything about us, and our current control over the results of our genes, the phenotype, is very limited. While diet, bad habits, and other lifestyle factors influence lifespan, once those are addressed, you're left with genetics. We are turning a corner into a world where manipulating genes could be as easy as any other medical treatment is now. Another company on the scene, another big player here, is Calico. This company started up by Google and Arthur Levinson. The Calico company is partnering with a lot of other people to do R&D into aging and age-related diseases, such as neurodegeneration and cancer. Among these groups, they include the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, the Ancestry DNA people, conducting research into the genetics of a lifespan, also MIT and Harvard, and AbbVie, which is a very awkward name for a company, the way it's spelled, but it is a division of Abbott Labs, is a pharmaceutical company. Google CEO Larry Page said on the founding of Calico, "Illness and aging affect all our families. With some longer-term moonshot thinking around healthcare and biotechnology, I believe we can improve millions of lives." End quote. Though there are not a lot of details available on what Calico and its partners are actually doing, It is another example of both people putting their money into longevity and health research and in the continued merging of medicine and technology. One might not think of Google as a healthcare company, or Alphabet as the company is now known, but it is an example of someone with a lot of money deciding that they want to do things that aren't being done or aren't being supported enough by governments. Whether it's AI, artificial intelligence, analyzing big data, 3D printing of organs, engineering synthetic DNA to treat a disease, or continuing to merge humans with technology directly, the desire not only to live longer and healthier, but to even one day conquer death will continue to grow. All right, that is your show for this week. Next week, I will be continuing the discussion of longevity. I will tackle some of the criticisms of this kind of longevity research and get into the social implications of people living much longer lives. In the meantime, come visit us on the website, panfuture.org. From there, you can link to the Twitter and the Facebook and all the other things, YouTube, iTunes, Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, wherever internet sound things come from. And drop me an email from there. Let me know what you think. This week, it was fairly difficult for me to write the show, even though I'm kind of doing futurism with training wheels for people. Sometimes I don't even know how to ride the bike with training wheels. There are things about this level of medical and genetic research that it's a pretty deep dive to even get a surface understanding, if I can mix metaphors, sort of. So anyway, if you happen to listen or know someone who knows more about this than I do, and I have screwed something up, please let me know. I will fix it. Or if you know lots about this and I can interview you, please also send me an email from the website and we'll get that on the books. That would be great to talk to someone who knows more about this than I do. I hope I have given you a decent overview understanding of these things that are going on, because it might sound like science fiction, but it's kind of not. Maybe a lot of it won't work, but real people are actually doing real work on these things, and it's going to affect our lives. So anyway, mull that over, and I will talk to you again in the future.